And that's, I mean, if you want to see some documentation on how brutal they have been in the past, you need to take a look at that. You see, because this crown plays into that and has everything to do with deceiving a lot of people on this earth, a lot of good people. But notice what it says here in the verse 18. There's coming a time when the world's going to clap their hands over you, for upon whom, that is after when they see them destroyed, for upon whom has not your wickedness passed continually? Well, they've got a history of bloody warfare, a history of it, a long history. Even Ezekiel 7, verse 24, you can read it later. It talks about the worst of the warring nations, the worst of them. Now, who could that be? If you look at our modern history, you know who that is. If you know anything about history, you know exactly who it is. Well, it's the same way in ancient history. It's the same way in ancient history. And that's, of course, the crown began with Charlemagne, but the warring problem was there long before that. Now let me quote to you from Mr. Herbert Armstrong, who founded the Worldwide Church of God and used to speak on some 400 television stations at one time. But these are excerpts from a radio broadcast given May 19, 1945, and he warned of Germany's post-war rise, and that was right after this United Nations meeting, which he attended. And here's what he wrote: "The war is over in Europe, or is it? We need to wake up and realize that right now is the most dangerous moment in United States national history, instead of assuming we now have peace. We don't understand German thoroughness. From the very start of World War II, they have considered the possibility of losing this second round, as they did the first, and they have carefully, methodically planned in such eventuality the third round, World War III. Hitler has lost. This round of war in Europe is over, and the Nazis have now gone underground." Nahum 3 and verse 17, Revelation 17 and verse 8. Then he concluded, "The third round is termed in prophecy an invasion by Babylon, a resurrected Roman Empire, a European Union. I have been proclaiming that since 1927. He's talking about that crown that has been directing Europe. Now let me read you just another quick quote from this booklet on Nahum that we want to send to you. And this was taken from a Reuters news service, November 23rd, 1994. And it says here, "A top ally of British Prime Minister John Major resigned on Wednesday after saying he wished Britain was not in the EU. Quote, I have no great liking for a continent dominated by two countries, that is France and Germany, the unique contribution of one of which has been to plunge Europe into 2 world wars in living memory." Mr. Nichols added, "I wish I was not in the European community. It is far from the merely economic community we were led to expect. And if I thought it was feasible to leave it, I would leave tomorrow." Now, he lost his job over making those statements, but he's talking about the crown beginning to dominate this European Union. The crown. In other words, it's not just an economic union. It's far more than that, he said. What is he talking about? He said he wished that Britain could get out. And then one of the insiders from Britain, Bernard Connolly, wrote a book on the rotten heart of Europe, and he was working from inside that union and said that it was rotten to the core. He said, quote, "It is the battle for control of the European superstate," Mr. Connolly wrote, "in which French technocrats confront German federalists, both sides claiming to fight under the banner of Charlemagne. The collateral damage from this battle lies mainly in the future, but it could be ghastly." And then he went on to talk about, well, who is going to be Charlemagne? Or, you see, is it going to be another Hitler, another more sophisticated man than that? But what kind of a leader is going to lead this great European Union with all of that power? And don't kid yourself, they have awesome power. See, they go around talking about Discover your origins. Revive your roots. Get back to this glorious past history that you've had in this Holy Roman Empire. But let me tell you, it is not glorious, but it is going to lead to the most glorious event that this earth has ever known. That very combine is going to clash with Jesus Christ himself. He's going to return to this earth and destroy that empire once and for all. And he says it will never, ever rise again. Never will this world have to experience war like that. There won't be war anymore. Jesus Christ is about to rule this earth, and that's the most wonderful news that you could ever possibly hear. So please write for this literature, and you will understand this very, very well. Until next week, this is Gerald Flurry. Goodbye, friends.